All right, we are going to take our notes today. So we are on page 8 in our notebook, and I'm going to turn my notebook sideways, and I'm going to try to fit most of it, do my best to try to fit most of it in the picture so that y'all can, you can see how much space I'm using, because I know it's annoying when you don't know how much space to use. So we're going to start by drawing a picture. And I know, you can't draw. Some of y'all can, but I know that's probably what you're thinking. Oh, I don't want to draw. Well, I can't draw either. So you get to laugh at my drawings. So it'll be okay because mine are pretty bad. We're going to draw a food chain, which you learned last year. You should know what every food chain starts with. Where does everything get its energy from? The sun. So I'm going to draw my sun. And really, I was just trying to make my sun not too big because I need a lot of space. And last time I used up too much space. So the sun, and then the sun gives energy to what? To plants. The sun gives energy to plants because plants get their food through photosynthesis. So I'm going to draw grass because that's the easiest plant to draw. So let's give us some little pieces of grass. Okay. And, oops, I didn't add my arrow. All right. The grass is going to give energy to a grasshopper. Y'all can laugh at my grasshopper. I didn't practice before this video. Oh, man. I'm going to embarrass myself. Okay. Anyways, let me do my best grasshopper. I don't even want to start. All right. Well, oh, man. That was supposed to be an eyeball, but it looks like a large mouth. Anyways, that's my best grasshopper. And see, I said you can laugh with me. It's okay if you can't draw. My grasshopper is going to give energy to a mouse. A little mousey. This guy's a little bit easier to do. Right. And remember, as you move down the food chain, the energy is getting less and less. So this mouse is going to have to eat a lot of grasshoppers to get the same amount of energy that the grasshopper gets from a little bit of grass. So then next, we are going to have a snake. And the snake is going to give its energy to a hawk. And I'm supposed to draw a real bird, but I can't do it. I can't draw a hawk. So this is the best I can do. You know, like the little easy elementary school bird. That's my hawk. And then our hawk dies. So I'm going to put an arrow, but I'm going to say the hawk dies. So who's going to get energy from it if it's already dead? Somebody. There is an organism that gets energy from dead and decaying things. Those would be decomposers. So for this example, let's have mushrooms. All right. It's bad that my mushroom is the best looking thing on here. Okay, so that was just to get us started. Now for our real notes, now that we have our beautiful food chain. Man, that grasshopper's bad. But now that we have that, let's do our real notes. So I'm sure that y'all remember that grass is called a producer. Producers make their own food. Producers makes its own food through photosynthesis. You can write that if you want. I'm just putting the short version. So producers, they don't need to eat anything. They make their food through photosynthesis. But all the other organisms that do eat things, that would be every guy else except for our decomposers, they are called consumers. Consumers. So producers produce, they produce their own food. Consumers consume. What does it mean if you say you consumed a bag of hot chips? You ate it. So consumers have to eat other organisms for energy. And a plant counts as another organism. The grasshopper is consuming grass. The grass doesn't consume anything. It produces its own food. So consumers consume. You know what we should also talk about? I should have done this first, but that's okay. We'll be all right. We need to make sure we add abiotic and biotic, which I just did a T-chart on. But let's make sure we point out a few abiotic things. So our sun is abiotic, which means non-living. If we had some raindrops falling from a rain cloud, that's abiotic. If there was some rocks in our grass, that's abiotic. Abiotic means non-living. Everything else is biotic, which means living. Abiotic means non-living. Biotic means living. You just watched a whole video on that, so I'm not going to talk about a whole bunch. All right, so a couple more things we need to label on here. The grasshopper only eats grass or plants. It doesn't eat any animals. So do you remember what that is called? Something that only eats plants, no animals. Well, it's only eating herbs, plants, that's how I remember it. So it's called an herbivore. An herbivore. So herbivores eat only plants. Eat only plants. Now, the mouse eats the grasshopper, but mice eat really anything they can find. Mice and rats, they eat a lot of things. So a mouse will eat a grasshopper, but it'll also eat a plant. It'll eat different plants. So it eats meat and plants. It eats animals and plants. It eats both. So the word for that, which you should have learned last year, is called omnivore. Omni means everything. If you ever hear omni before something, it means everything. So it eats plants, and animals. Now, the snake and the hawk, they only eat meat. They only eat animals. They're not eating any plants at all. Some of you may be almost carnivores because, they're called carnivores. I already said it. You might think that, but I bet you eat things that are not meat as well, because if you eat hot chips, that's not meat. So carnivores, I know poquito, a little bit of Spanish, and I know that carne means meat. And no, I can't roll my R's, so I know I say it terribly. But a carnivore eats only animals. And our very last one is our mushroom. And I already told y'all what this is called. This mushroom guy is called a decomposer. Decomposers break down dead or decaying organisms. Decomposers break down dead or decaying organisms. So, let's review all of our vocab real quick. Abiotic. Abiotic means non-living. It is not alive. That would be air, that would be rain, rocks, the sun. Biotic is everything that is alive. All living creatures, plants, animals, trees, puppies, you, me. Consumers are organisms that consume food. They cannot make their own food. They have to eat other organisms, plants or animals. Producers are basically plants. They're things that make their own food through photosynthesis. Herbivores eat only plants. Think herb, think plants. Herbivores eat only plants. Omnivore eats plants and animals. Omni means both or all. So they eat all things. Carnivore eats only meat, eats only animals. Carne means meat. I know I do not say that correctly, but anyways. Decomposers break down dead and decaying organisms. So a decomposer only comes into play when things are dead already. Decomposers can be bacteria, fungi. It has to be something that breaks down things that are already dead or decaying. So they're not eating things that are living. And this is some of the major vocab that we needed to review. None of these words should be brand new to you. You learned them all in 7th grade, but this should be a good little refresher to you. I'm making sure that you can see every word. And I hope you use some colors and make your pictures beautiful. And I cannot wait for you to submit a picture of your notes so that I can see y'all's grasshoppers and y'all's hawks and everything. It took my whole page. If y'all can see, I did the sun over here and my mushrooms at the very edge. So make sure that you don't draw too big. Give yourself some space because it did take my whole page. And this should be on page 8 in your notebook.